Coming up this morning on the Dattitude podcast, with their victory Saturday night against Arkansas, the LSU Tigers are just one more win away from being in the catbird seat. I always wanted to sit in that catbird seat. I mean, you just like swat at birds. Are you a cat? It's a cat-bird seat. I don't know. Anyway, I'm digressing already. They're 1-1 away from being in that winner's bracket. Face UCLA tonight and see who will remain there. Can Anthony Eyanson even come close to replicating the dominance Kade Anderson showed against the Hogs? Will Eyanson feed off of Anderson's performance? Can the Tigers hitters score more than 4 runs? Will they even need to? We have our favorite Tigers beat writer here this morning to answer all of our questions, as Koki Riley will join us live from Omaha. Also, we'll open and close with the Saints and ask whether newly signed Cam Akers can play a significant role with this team. And what does it signal if he does? What about skipping the final day of mandatory minicamp for some team bonding at the local golfing place? Maybe they're trying out for the U.S. Open. Who knows? Maybe Kellen Moore's just trying to win over the players. And last but certainly not least, Gabe Henderson has some thoughts on the weekend, and we'll touch on all the top stories from around the sports world in the pregame Dat Chat. We won't play solitaire on our phones. Right, Gabe? Don't think we forgot about Mono-E Monday either. You're the reason why we're here. So crank it up, Phil, and let's get this thing one show closer to vacay. Can you hear it? I can hear it. Where is it? Oh, there it is.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where are you at, Dattitude family? Where the hell are you at? It's been quite a week. I'm like pumped up. I don't know. I'm not on anything, I promise. I did not even drink extra coffee. I didn't even go to racetrack for coffee. I drank it at home at the Little Mermaid cup. And we're drinking water out the Cubs cup. See how old this cup is? I'm just all over the place. I'm just letting you know. I can see vacay. I could see it's like the lights are out there. I can see it. So I might be a little bit fired up today. You're just going to have to deal with it. How was your Father's Day weekend? Here's your final Father's Day present. Dattitude, episode number 386, presented by Evangeline Securities for a Monday, June the 16th, 2025. I am your host, Jim Derry, high on life, 35 years or so, close to it on the New Orleans sports media scene. That's a reason to be fired up. I thank you for being a part of our ever-growing Dattitude family. Yeah, Father's Day was pretty cool. I think, look, I'm like, UBN got me drinking this pH water. So I went and bought a bunch of it. I bought 4 gallons of it to see if I like it. And I've been drinking it for like 5. I mean, maybe that's why I'm high on life. I don't know. I'm excited. Again, I see vacay. It is there. I could take a couple weeks off and just get my mind off of. I mean, what are we talking about this time of year? I mean, other than LSU, of course, we're going to talk about LSU. That is exciting as you see the topics for today's show. Can LSU do it again against UCLA? Can they play like they played? I mean, what did they turn? 3 double plays against Arkansas? It wasn't just Kade Anderson. Kade Anderson was fantastic, but it wasn't just Kade Anderson. The infield was man, they were rolling. Look, they got the 3-run inning. They ended up scoring 4 runs in the game. Do they have to score more than 4 runs tonight? I don't know, but it would surely make it a little bit more breathable. Got to win tonight. If you can win tonight and get yourself some breathing room, then you got everybody on the ropes, okay? You get yourself into that championship series and see what happens against. I said it before. I'm going to say it again. I thought last week it was going to be Coastal on the other side. It's sure shaping up to look that way. They look good, man. Now, I don't want to look ahead because LSU still got work to do, but they look good. So we'll talk about that. It's Anthony Eyanson's turn. Can he feed off of the performance that Sometimes when you got two dominating pitchers like this, they kind of like, when it's Paul Skeens, everybody just wanted to be Paul Skeens. Nobody's Paul Skeens. But when you got two pitchers like LSU has, if you're Anthony Eyanson, you don't want to be shown up by Kade Anderson, right? You want to go out and it's going to be tough to pitch as well as he did. But let me tell you, I think they're going to feed off of something I'm going to ask Koki Riley, again, coming up around 11:20. We got some things to talk about before then. Saints, again, we're going to open the show when we get to the real part of the show. Cam Akers is signed. I made the mistake of saying he was signed last week. No, he was just in for a tryout. Of course they signed him. I mean, look at that running back room. Of course they're going to sign him. What do you think? Got to have him. Need him. And then Kellen Moore decided to skip the last day of mandatory minicamp. Okay, so what? For team bonding, he said, apparently, according to our Saints insiders, NOLA.com/sports/Saints, according to our insiders, he told the guys if one Saint, whoever they chose to go up there and can hit a 3-pointer on the first try, they would have practice off their. I think he was going to do it anyway. I mean, if you say stuff like that, you're probably going to do it anyway. But anyway, apparently Deckers, the 8th string quarterback, went up there. Apparently I guess he's a good basketball player. Hit the 3-pointer. They all went to 504. 504. If you're not from New Orleans or if you haven't been here in a while, 504 is the new. It's like Top Golf. It is 50. It is. They put it in the site of where the Times-Picayune building used to be. So I have kind of mixed emotions about it. I spent a big chunk of my life on that location when it was the Times-Picayune. Big chunk of my life was spent there. So I have mixed emotions about that being a golf place. But anyway, Saints went there and had some bonding. What do we think about that? We'll talk about that a little bit this morning. You could be a part of the show. You know how to do it. Again, it is still Mono E Monday. We're going to do Mono E Monday, and we're going to have Koki. We're going to talk a little bit about everything this morning. Type in your comment on YouTube or Facebook. Doesn't matter what it's about. Doesn't have to be about the Saints. Doesn't have to be about LSU. If you just want to say hello or you got something in mind, what about maybe the U.S. Open? We'll talk about that in a second. What about the NBA Finals restarting? Maybe some baseball. Gabe Henderson wants to talk about the ridiculous, absurd trade that the Red Sox says, you know what, we're too stubborn to actually have a chat with Rafael Devers. We're just going to give him to the Giants. Okay, dumbass. Good luck with that. We'll see how that works out. Gabe wants to talk about that. We'll get on that later. Whatever you want to talk about, you know how to do it. Type it in whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. And if you're not watching, if you're not watching on YouTube, if you're not watching from the Dattitude YouTube channel, what are you waiting for? Be a part of the Dattitude YouTube family. We finally had a kind of lull in subscription. They went up a little bit last week after we, sometimes we have to just knock on the door a little bit. Come on in. Come on in. Tell your friends about it. They haven't subscribed, please do so. Click the little bell. You'll know when we come back from vacation, by the way. We still have one more show Wednesday. We'll have a show on Wednesday. Doug Mouton will close it out before we go on a vacation. Always fun when we have Doug here. We have a little tete-a-tete, probably a little bit longer. Lately we've been cutting the guest segment down to 20, 30 minutes. Who knows what we'll have with Doug. That'll be some fun on Wednesday morning/afternoon once we go on vacation. Taking some time off. Then when I come back, I'm going to put together our NFL team previews. Going to start working on those. Again, we're probably going to do them as shorts. Then maybe at the end of the week, we'll have a little general chat. Maybe Gabe will get involved. We'll see how that goes. We haven't completely come up with the format for that yet, but that'll be when we return on July the 11th is when we'll return after Wednesday. So this is the penultimate, one of my favorite words, penultimate. Penultimate is it's just a great word. Because you know why it's cool? Because most people don't know what it means. And I'm, being from the West Bank, when I know a word that other people don't know, my wife got me a shirt for Father's Day. It didn't come in yet, but she called over a Flirty Girl to make sure they have my size, and she's getting it in. It says, "Don't make me use my West Bank voice." And in case y'all haven't heard me tell this story in the show before, my lovely bride of we'll be married, I don't know, what is it, 18 years in February. 17 and a half years. We've been together for 20. She says I have 3 voices. She says I have my radio voice, my West Bank voice, and my asshole voice. So I always have to ask, which voice am I using now? Which voice am I? I don't know. It's kind of probably a combination between radio and asshole, but whatever. That's who I am. Penultimate, though. That is just a great word. This is the penultimate show before we go on vacation. Wednesday. Doug Moot's on. Let's take a few comments before we get to the words of the day. Again, I have a few things to talk about this morning, and I only got 9 minutes to do it, and talk about my friends at Evangeline all at the same time, and show comments. So let's get to it. Why am I wasting time? Dylan Smith, good morning, Dattitude family. Let's go. UBN, howdy, partner. I told you, you got me drinking this pH water. I don't know if it's got me high on life, but I like it. I'm hooked now. At least the 6 p.m. start, you can stay up the whole game. Yeah. Earl's Picks likes the Akers signing. What's not to like? Of course you got to like it. You see that running back room? It sucks. Got to get fired up. Gabe Henderson, by the way, also, he likes penultimate. He also likes plethora. I do too. Plethora. It's the P words. Not all the P words. But penultimate. Watch it, buddy. But penultimate and plethora are good ones. I like it. Who Dat Daddy's here? Where you been, Who Dat Daddy? I know you've been in and out. You going to go on vacation? We're all going to go on vacation. None of us are going to watch any shows. Oh, maybe we'll watch some old. You can go find some old Dats. Fine. Let's go back while I'm off. Maybe you can go watch some Dats from last year at this time. Were we happy? Were we fired up going to this? What the hell were we saying? I don't even know. Maybe I'll go watch. I don't know. Mark Zatanovich, Pantera most certainly played in Houston this past week. And Uncle Phil, I can't call him Uncle Phil. I mean, he's literally 2 months older than me. His birthday is coming up in a couple weeks. He's going to be, well, you can go look. If I tell you that, then you'll know how old I'm going to be. You have to go look it up. But Uncle Phil is 2 weeks older than I am. Yeah, so we thank Uncle Phil for all of our stuff. Here, he's got voiceovers and voice ins. Dylan Smith loves it. He's got to know. So there's something about upcoming vacay that gets you pumped up. I'm telling you. UBN says, yes, I'm properly hydrated. I'm getting that way. Mark Gapsky, good morning. What do you think about, hey, Mark, what do you think about, we're going to talk about it in a second. Shohei Ohtani. Going to take the mound for the first time since he had his second Tommy John surgery. He is going to pitch tonight for the Dodgers against them Padres. Your Padres. What do you think about that? Brian Cabot. What a weekend. Tigers up. Florida Panthers up 3-2. I mean, you got to root for the Panthers, right? The Americans versus the Canadians. Come on. Gabe says, no, I'm not rooting for Canadians. Sorry. I'm almost out, even if, I don't know, I hate the Yankees. I hate the Astros. But if they played against the Blue Jays in the ALCS, I'd probably root for the Yankees. You got to root for America. Whatever. Where? Charles Mangus. Good morning. Where you at, Dattitude family? Or where you at? He loved the first win by the Tigers. See, Who Dat Daddy has got it. He knows where it's at. Subscribe and hit the damn like button. That is the best comment of the week. See, I'm knocking over my computer here. We ain't gonna be doing. I'm knocking over my damn computer. We ain't gonna be doing anything. Joey Wilson. How many games do I think the Saints will win? Well, see, now you're putting me on a spot. I tell you what. I'm gonna show the Saints slide in just a minute, and I'll give you my preliminary thoughts. Corey Terrio's here. I think. Click. There you go. Click. Where are we going on vacation? Where are you taking me? I'm probably not going anywhere. I just relax. Who knows? Lewis Jacobson's here. Let's go. And Mark Gapsky says he thinks the Padres is going to rough up Ohtani. You need a left fielder and a catcher at the deadline. Yeah. I don't know what the Cubs need. They need another starting pitcher. I don't know. All right. We got a couple things to talk about. Again, 5 minutes before we get to Koki. Before we get to our initial thoughts of the weekend, I really want to talk about the U.S. Open. Before we get to those things, let me tell you about our friends at Evangeline Securities. Of course, they're a company that can help you decide if it's the right time to sell your family-run or privately held business. And just as importantly, they can figure out what that business is worth. Is that you? Or is it someone you know? Is it someone you love? If it's someone you care about? If it's not someone you care, if it's someone you really don't like, then don't tell them to reach out to Evangeline's founding and managing partners, Nick Braden and Ron Hemount. If it's someone you love, someone you care about, or if it's you, then definitely reach out to Evangeline's founding and managing partners, Nick Braden and Ron Hemount. They will start by scheduling a complimentary evaluation from their offices either on Poydras Street or in Lafayette. And from there, you will be well informed and begin to make the decision on if you want to proceed. What happens after that? Well, you head to Omaha, of course. We'll fill you in more later in the show. In the meantime, you can check them out at www.evangelinesecurities.com. That is www.evangelinesecurities.com. All right, U.S. Open, real quick. I don't have a whole lot of time. This is going to fire up UBN. I'm not trying to fire up the horses. Did y'all watch it? If you didn't watch it, it was fantastic and it was catastrophic all at the same time. It was like one of those ones that nobody wanted to win until the very end. JJ Spawn stunk, and it was kind of like the Cubs in 2016. Then he got the rain delay, and then I don't know what the hell happened. Was Jason Hayward there? I don't know. Somebody fired up JJ Spawn, and he came back after the rain delay, and he was a different player. You know who else was a different player? LSU Sam Burns. Man, you want to talk about blow up. Now, I will say this. I thought Sam Burns got screwed on a call where, if you were watching it, he had a ball. I don't remember. I think it was the 15th. Was it the 14th or the 15th? I think it was the 15th hole. And basically, he should have got relief. He was hitting from water. I mean, there was standing water where he was hitting from. Now, according to the announcers and according to the quote-unquote rules expert, you couldn't visibly see the water where the ball was lying. But wherever he stepped, water is splashing up. Every practice swing he took, water splashing up. He should have got relief. He didn't get relief. It obviously affected his shot. He asked for two different judges to come in or rules, whatever. They both said, no, you got to play where it lies. And it changed the course of the tournament. Would JJ Spawn still have won? I think he probably would have. But I will say this also about Sam Burns, and I said this in a group text with UBN and another friend, Dom, yesterday. If you're a professional golfer, it's easy for me to say, I'm not playing, I get it. But if you're a professional golfer, you got to pull it together. You screwed up a shot. You pissed off because they didn't give you what you wanted, which you should have gotten. Did you get screwed? Yes. But if you're a pro, you got to get it together. It's like a baseball pitcher. If you throw two right down the middle and they call them balls and the bases are loaded, well, you got a choice. You can either get yourself together or you could just, hit the ball. You got to get it together. Sam Burns couldn't get it back together. But JJ Spawn, talking about hitting the bull, he took the bull by the horns. How about those people who had a bet on no under par rounds? They thought they had that in the bag. 64-foot putt on 18. Nope. 1 under. Bam, you lose. Anyway, he also had a little bit of luck that Victor Hovland's putt. Victor Hovland, his approach shot was literally right behind Spawn, so he had to putt first. Gave Spawn a great look at it. And but I still think the most hilarious thing of yesterday afternoon and the most entertaining part of the afternoon for me, don't get me wrong, I love the drama. Spawn was great, but Terrell Hatton self-imploding. That was hilarious, man. You got to love when Hatton gets pissed off. That's kind of the best, most fun of golf. So anyway, a lot of fun in the U.S. Open. Real quick, the NBA, the finals resume tonight. Series tied at 2. Look, I mean, Indiana had their chance to go up 3-1. They blew it, and I think with that, they blew any chance they had to win the series. I still think they would have lost anyway. We'll see. Can they, Gabe says you can't ever take Oklahoma City when they're big a favorite, -9.5. I ain't touching that game with a stick. I'm not betting on or against the Thunder. They're minus 450 again to win it, plus 350 if you like Indiana to win it all. Gabe says he's got an Oilers ticket. I also found out he used a bonus bet on LSU to win a College World Series for the season at plus 800. I also have LSU at plus 700 and didn't realize it. So how about that? Gabe says, by the way, he would take OKC minus 9.5 at home. All right, I'll ask him about that. And then lastly, before we get to Koki, the Grizzlies. Desmond Bane to Orlando. KCP. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Cole Anthony, and 4 first-round. What is the deal with all these multiple first-round picks getting traded all the time? I don't get the NBA. But then again, I don't have to. All right, time to bring in Koki Riley and talk about LSU fighting Tigers in the College World Series live from Omaha, Nebraska. Koki, how's the weather out in Omaha?
High 80s, low 90s. Not as humid as Louisiana, but a little hotter than maybe you'd even expect. So, yeah,
a mixed bag.
That's roughly what it is. Yeah, a mixed bag.
Yeah, you kind of, you hope when you go somewhere like that and you're getting away from the heat and humidity of southern Louisiana, you hope you get a respite, but, it could be worse. I see, by the way, looks like a couple of days of rain tomorrow and Wednesday, so that could interfere with the schedule. And then this weekend, hopefully LSU's not, they'll play Wednesday. Hopefully then they don't play again until Saturday. We'll see. We don't want to jump ahead of ourselves, but it's supposed to be super hot Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I know you're looking forward to that.
I don't know if I
am. Just kidding. All right, tonight, LSU versus UCLA. Monday night, tonight, 6 p.m. The winner stays in the winner's bracket. Losers got a lot of work to do. One could argue, obviously, winning that first game to me, winning game one is as important as anything until you get to that, until you get to the championship series for me. But tonight is nearly as important. But before we get to that, I just got to talk about Kade Anderson. I just thought, after he got hit on the arm last week, we're wondering about what we're going to get. And you're thinking, look, give me 6 good innings, get out of there. Hopefully it's, LSU's up maybe 4-3 or something along those lines. No, he was dominating. He gave up the 1 home run, but man, I thought Kade Anderson pitched one of his best games of the year at the exact right time and proved why he's a top 10, maybe better than that, Major League Baseball draft pick coming up.
Yeah, and I thought in the first inning or two, his command was a little bit off. He walked a couple batters, just didn't really seem like he had that pinpoint control that he usually has. And then as the game sort of went along, I thought he got better. I thought his fastball command improved. I spoke with Nate Yeski after the game, and he said similar things. And he thought that his delivery was just a lot more athletic and fluid as the game went along after those first couple of innings. And he thought at the start he was trying to be a little too mechanical and just trying to be very fine with trying to locate everything perfectly, right? And when you're sort of doing that mentally and physically, more importantly, you can actually miss a lot more. But once you just start, being the athlete that you are, and Cade's a really good athlete, that's sort of when that fluidity sort of came into his motion, and that's when you saw him really improve as the game went along when it came to his fastball command, especially. And with his breaking and with his off-speed pitches, I thought his slider was solid. I thought he had one of his best curveballs of the year. So it was a pretty fantastic performance, and there's really not a lot you can sort of pick at, I guess, because again, like he was pretty lights out for them.
I also thought it was impressive. And this is just, I'm going to nitpick. We're not going to nitpick on his performance, but I'm going to nitpick overall. And I thought that the strike zone was a little spotty early on. And maybe Kade didn't get some calls that he thought he should have got, but he worked through them. And I was impressed by that he didn't let that bother him. He didn't seem to, in both pitches really, but I thought that he didn't let it bother him. He got past it. And the inconsistency, and I actually thought the umpiring kind of settled down after the first couple innings. But, I really like Cade's mentality going in. And look, he always gets a little fired up, but I thought he was even more fired up than usual on Saturday.
Yeah, he can be a pretty fiery guy on the mound, and that's kind of a fun, thing to sort of see. But yeah, no, he was absolutely fantastic, and they needed him to be that good because you're in a pitcher's park where you're facing an Arkansas team that has a very, very talented pitching staff, probably as talented as your own pitching staff, and an offense that can go off at any time. So you have to be able to take advantage of the park on defense, and then on offense, you have to be able to jump on any sort of opportunity that you could even possibly have, and that's what they did. They had to do those two things, and that's exactly what they did. So that's what puts them in sort of in the driver's seat, as you see at the bottom of the screen. Your odds here.
Yeah.
LSU's at plus 120 to win this whole entire thing, and they're the favorites for a reason. And I just feel like that wouldn't have been the case if they lose that game, of course.
Well, yeah, and we talked about it last week. We said we thought that either whoever won the Arkansas LSU game, I mean, that's a pretty. I think had LSU lost, they probably wouldn't be as high as plus 600, which is what Arkansas is now. They probably would have been more like plus 450 or something like that. But I was kind of surprised that LSU actually wasn't even money, or actually like minus 110 or something. So still might be decent value, but just goes to show you that how important winning that first game is. You look at LSU and you look at Coastal Carolina now, who went from plus 600 to plus 195. So winning that first game so important. Tonight, not that much different. If you can win the night and not have to play tomorrow and get yourself into a Wednesday game where you can get yourself in perfect position for that championship series, man, tonight is so big for this LSU team.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not as tall of a task because UCLA just doesn't have the horses that a team like Arkansas does. Right. But at the same time, it's not going to be easy either. What UCLA puts the ball in play a ton. Rock Chalowski, their shortstop, their sophomore shortstop, is one of the best players in the country. 23 homers and a 742 slugging percentage entering the tournament. He's been a pretty fantastic superstar for them. And then on the flip side, they have a lot of pitching depth. They go to their bullpen quite a bit. So like Landon Stump is going to be the starter, but I doubt he goes any more than 4 or 5 innings in this game. So they have some pretty decent bullpen depth too. So UCLA under John Savage, they have a history of developing really good pitchers. You think Garrett Cole, you think Trevor Bauer, you think a whole cadre of guys who may end up making the major leagues under his sort of command. Gage Jump and Thatcher Hurd were there at one point under Savage, so it kind of gives you an idea. Like they'll have a little bit more pitching depth than most of these non-SEC teams have, and then offensively they're going to put the ball in play. They're going to make havoc happen, and they also have an absolute superstar who could play on any team in the country and start. And Rock Chalowski. So it's not going to be easy. LSU should be the favorite. They don't really lose when Anthony Eyanson's been on the mound throughout the second half of the season. So that's a big plus for LSU. The real question, I guess, is just going to be like, can LSU get enough runs on the board offensively in that big pitcher's park, and can Anthony Eyanson just do what he's been doing for a month?
Well, one thing that I find interesting is I kind of find if you go through and look at kind of the past 8 to 10 weekends, Kade Anderson and Anthony Eyanson sort of feed off of each other. You look at last weekend, neither one was great. They were okay. They were good enough because LSU's bats were working. But if you go through and look, and I wonder if tonight, if Eyanson sort of feeds off of Anderson and says, I don't want you to one-up me, Kade Anderson. I'm going to go out there and, try to at least do what you did, or maybe even a little bit better. And so maybe he takes it as a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, those two guys definitely, feed off each other's success to at least to some degree, right? When you see your ace teammate pitch so well, you want to match it for not just yourself, but also for the team, and that just sort of goes to the fact that this team has gelled really well. I don't know if it's like 2004 Red Sox levels or 2023 LSU levels of that sort of level of camaraderie. I mean, that's a very rare thing to sort of see. You need a lot of veterans. And this team, But considering the circumstances, this team is pretty close. Like when I say the circumstances, I mean the amount of portal guys and the amount of freshmen this team is relying on, the amount of players who are new, relatively speaking. It's they don't have a lot of. There's only one Josh Pearson. There's not a whole lot of other Josh Pearsons. That 2023 team had a bunch of Josh Pearsons. Not only did they have Josh Pearson, but they also had Cade Beloso and Alex Milazzo and Hayden Travinsky and all these other veteran core guys. This team doesn't really have that as much. So it is kind of impressive that they've been able to sort of gel the way that they have this season.
Is this one of Jay Johnson's better efforts? I mean, he's been fantastic since he got here, but you look at the team for 2 years ago when you got the top 2 picks in the Major League draft. It's a lot easier to win. I mean, this team, like you talk about, there's no, the pitching staff is outstanding, but there's no dominant player on this team except for maybe Anderson and Eyanson. It's just the job that Jay Johnson has done, I just think is outstanding to get this team from where they were in the beginning of the season, which was in a good spot. Don't get me wrong, but to go through this year and how they played, and I just think they've gotten better, and the belief that he instills in these guys, and they just believe they're going to win.
I think you make a really good point about how this team is more of his team than the 2023 team. 2023 team is him just sort of like pushing a couple levers to get them from regional team to superstar team. And that's by adding a Tommy White and a Paul Skeens and sort of using the transfer portal to the maximum possible effect with those guys and just nailing on those while, trying to, tweak and improve, the players that he inherited. Right. Like Dylan Cruz and Cade Beloso and all those guys that I just mentioned. And even like the freshmen who came into those teams, like those were Maneri recruits. Like Jared Jones was a Maneri recruit. Brady Neal and Paxton Kling, Maneri recruits. So, granted, he still had to secure those guys onto that team and onto those teams, but at the same time, I'd say 75% of that team, and as Maneri likes to say, we're his guys, right? But this team is not the case. Like these freshmen were pretty much mainly recruited by Jay Johnson, if not solely recruited by Jay Johnson. All the portal guys that they have were solely Jay Johnson guys, and there's really only a handful, maybe 5 to 10 guys who are mainly Maneri guys who are on this year's team who are playing even solid, decently sized roles. I mean, I guess Kade Anderson was committed to the Maneri staff, like Jared Jones. I mean, there's a few guys, but for the most part, this is Jay Johnson's team. So the fact that, they're 4 wins away from winning their second national championship in 3 years, which is kind of a surreal thing to say, given the Little Rock situation and given some of the lower moments this season, it's very, very impressive to say the least. And I think this year has done anything. It's sort of confirmed the fact that he knows how to build a team that can get you Omaha from scratch.
And Pearson is really the only other Maneri guy that comes to mind that is a major. Well, he's not even as much a major contributor, more of a role player now. But this team to me is just what they've done from last year to this year is it's special. I mean, you got the program back to me there before under Maneri, because I love Paul Maneri and I always will. But it feels like it's almost Skip Bertman-ish again. I mean, Jay Johnson could be here for a really long time.
Well, if they win this year, they win these next 4 games, that's when we're going to be starting to throw around the Skip Bertman comparisons, right? Because that's 2 titles in 3 years.
Right.
And the 3rd season, they were 2 outs away from probably getting back to Omaha. You could really, really spin this in a very positive direction. Even if they don't win this year, the program's still in a really good spot. Right. So the fact that they had to get back to here to prove that what Jay Johnson's doing is working, and then they did. So you can't really argue with that. And yeah, we can pick at things, and we should pick at things. That's our job, right? But if you look at this whole entire operation from an 100-foot view, and just and just see all the pieces. And you look at the recruiting class that's coming in, that's extremely talented as well. It's kind of tough to tell what that's going to look like because of the house settlement and the fact that a lot of those guys have a chance to get picked in the draft. So
Right.
even more than last year. So because of that, that's going to be kind of tough to tell. But like everything else, you can kind of get an idea of what it's looking at. And the base of this program is so much stronger than it was even a year ago, where they had to add so many guys from the portal. This year, that's probably not going to be the case because they have a bunch of returning freshmen and a bunch of potential returning players. A sophomore class is going to become a junior class, like Stephen Milam and Jake Brown. So, they're going to lose Anderson and Eyanson, but this team is as good of a spot as you could ask for, despite all that stuff.
Yeah, as Charles says, next year they will have some veterans. So yeah, this could be an interesting transition. But let's get through this first. And talking about tonight, you kind of touched on it with UCLA and what they have, but UCLA, I think plus 300 or something along those lines. LSU minus 400 to win tonight. Obviously, LSU an overwhelming favorite. But just as far as the bats go, only 4 runs on Saturday night, and 3 of those coming against Root. Who, what kind of a surprise there that he was yanked as early as he was. It's a whole different story. But do the Tigers need to score more than 4 runs tonight?
I always say that they need to get to 5. That wasn't the case on Saturday, obviously. 4 was enough. But it's hard to say, okay, pitching staff, you have to keep you got the opposing team to 1 or 2 runs. Like, that's just a high bar, even with the pitcher's park that they're in, even with the talent that they have. And given UCLA style, maybe that can give them a little bit more trouble as well on that side of the ball. So I'd say get the 5. Like, if they get the 5, it's hard for this team to lose. That's just a fact. They've lost 2 games this season where they've scored 5 or more runs. The entire season, which is kind of an insane stat, right? It tells you how good this pitching staff is and how important this offense is. But this team has 14, 15 losses, and a lot of that's because they were games where they just didn't score, and they got to score runs. And it's going to be harder, but it's going to be easier than it was on Saturday, given the talent that they were going up against.
It's also hard to think that Eyanson would give up 6 runs in back-to-back performances. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, he gave him 4 last time, and I mean that was such an offensive environment that they were in. And I just think
was it 4? I thought he gave up 6. Was it only 4?
No, Anderson gave up 6.
Okay.
Yeah,
Anderson, I was there Sunday night. That's right. It was 12-5. It was a 12-5 game, so he couldn't have given up 6 runs. So I was there. See what happens when you get old, Koki. You forget stuff that happened just last week. Brian says Bear Jones is struggling. Do they move him back a few spots again?
I can definitely see that as a possibility, especially with a right-hander on the mound. Stumps are righty, so again, he's not going to go very long, and I think UCLA is going to do some mixing and matching. But UCLA seemed pretty right-handed heavy just from the little research that I did. So I'm feeling like you're going to see Derek Curiel back at that leadoff spot at the very least, and you're going to see Jake Brown back in the lineup. Outside of that, I can see some other smaller adjustments like the one that you said, because Jared Jones was working extra long in practice yesterday when the media is able to go to practices while we're in Omaha. So he was just hitting the cage with Jay Johnson, again, that one-on-one instruction while everyone else was back on the bus. So you can see that he's definitely trying to work out of this again, because on Saturday, Arkansas got him with off-speed stuff, and it turned into 5 strikeouts. 0 for 5 with 5 strikeouts is about as poor as it gets. So, it's sometimes you really worry about the lack of Jones's inability to sort of see spin and off-speed stuff out of the hand.
Yeah.
And sometimes it just seems like he's guessing out there. And I know that sounds mean and all, but it just, I don't know. But you gotta say it like you see it, right? And
you hit it, Koki Riley. You go out there and try to hit the ball.
I know. I mean, I played. I mean, if you've seen a 90-mile-per-hour fastball, I've seen 90-mile-per-hour fastball in the box before. It is not easy.
Once
up there. No one is.
Once.
Yes. No one is. Yeah. No one is saying that it's easy. I'll never forget it. Seeing 90. It's crazy. But I didn't strike out though, to be fair, but it's hard. I'm not saying it isn't hard, but at the same time, like these guys now they make money to do this too, and they're in this position, and it's our jobs to maybe not. I don't say hold them accountable. That's a little bit
Yeah.
strong, but like it's our job to talk about it, right? What happens on the field. So I feel like for this team to take the next level. Maybe they're not going to get a ton of home runs out of Jones, mostly because of the park. But at the same time, like doubles and extra base hits and production from one of your best hitters is important, no matter where you're playing.
Yeah. So once it's a long story, and my only response was, "What the hell was that?" So I'll just leave on the 90-mile-an-hour fastball. UBN wants to say no. He said, "Forget the runs. What's the over/under on Jello shots at the end of this thing?" Have you had a Jello shot, by the way?
I've had a few.
I would definitely.
We took one for the we took one for the video. Some of these smaller videos that we're doing for the advocate.com. And I also like the vendor who they hired. I'm running a story about this. Josh Shots is the vendor who's like providing the Jello shots over in Omaha. He showed us how to properly do it because they kind of have this like unique cup where you kind of pushed up from the bottom, this little bubble you pushed up from the bottom, you squeezed a little bit, and then it sort of slides out of the cup. But anyway, I've had a couple, and they're pretty good. 13% alcohol, a little more than you'd imagine for those shots.
NOLA.com, NOLA.com/sports/LSU. Also, you can find Koki and the rest of the LSU beat writers. They have their own YouTube page. We check them out. And the LSU. Last thing I'm going to say, and I'll let UBN finish it off here as well. If LSU wins tonight, should he just book Omaha for the championship?
I wouldn't say book it because they'll still think Arkansas has the pitching depth, assuming that they win today against Murray State to give LSU some sort of run for its money. But at the same time, they're going to be even more in the driver's seat, right? So they're in the driver's seat right now, as your odds say here at the bottom, and I would agree with the odds right here in order. But I also think that just a win today would be, I don't know, would push those odds even further.
Yeah, so I think if they win tonight, their odds probably go to like -140, -150, especially depending on what happens with Coastal. If Coastal were to lose before and have to play an extra game and LSU doesn't have to, I mean, that's going to also that would also change odds as well. So we'll see what happens. Koki, we can find you also, again, as we said, you guys have your own you have your own YouTube page, and you're on all the same Facebook channels that we are here at NOLA.com. So need to check you out. I know, are you guys doing another pod while you're up there soon?
We're doing like post-game shows that I'm not able to hop on because I'm doing post-game interview stuff.
Thing called Deadline.
Yeah, deadlines and all that jazz, but we are doing them. So definitely check them out.
We'll check you out, and we hope you stay there a long time. Now, we're going on vacation, but I already told my boss that if they were to win the national championship, then I will come on and do a show while I'm on vacation. And I will have to have you as part of that show somehow, some way. So let's hope that Koki Riley is once again on the show, and maybe, I don't know, about a week or so. We hope that a week, a little more than a week. We'll see what happens. Enjoy Omaha, and take it easy in Rocco's. All right.
Will do.
We'll see you later. Koki Riley, everybody. We thank him for coming on again. All the LSU stuff you can find on their own YouTube page, NOLA.com/sports/LSU. And if you can't see the odds on the screen that Koki referred to multiple times, if you're listening to the podcast only version, LSU now +120. That is just a little bit, you're getting a little bit more favorable odds for you, the better, than if you were betting them in even money. If you don't understand betting, or you kind of get confused on the pluses and the minuses, what plus means is you put that amount of money down to win. You put $100 down and you win that much. Or if you bet $10, you'd win 12. So in this case, you bet $100, you'd win 120 if LSU wins the national championship again. Or if you bet 10, you'd win $12. Or if you bet $1, you would win $1.20. There you go. Coastal Carolina right behind them at plus 195. Again, it goes to show you how important being in that winner's bracket is. You get in that winner's bracket, Coastal Carolina, in that winner's bracket, they're plus 195. And then you go down the rest of the way. They showed a stat the other night during the LSU game that I thought was important. 22 of the last 25 College World Series champions have started 1-0. That's how important it is to win that first game. You've got to win that first game. Is it impossible to win the College World Series without it? No, it's not impossible. But you just look at these odds. The odds makers know what they're talking about. There's a reason why Arkansas, are they a better team than Coastal Carolina? I don't know if they're a better team, but if they played 10 times, it'd probably go 5-5 at least. But yet they're plus 600. Their odds are 3 times as high to win the College World Series. Why? Because they're in the losers bracket. And they've already burned their ace who stunk the other night. We'll see. They'll play Murray State coming up this afternoon, I believe, at 2 p.m. A couple of comments that I want to get to real quickly. Charles, there was one thing I wanted to touch on that you said, because I covered him. Where is it? I'm missing it. Live TV. Somebody, Kade Anderson. There it is. Anderson, thank you, Gabe. Anderson's high school stats are phenomenal. 200 Ks, only one loss in his high school career. That's actually, you can take it off because I don't know where it was. That's actually not true. I covered him. He might have only had one loss for his senior year. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm certain that he lost more than one game in his high school career. His junior year was the last time I covered him, because in his senior year, I had moved over to sports betting. But his junior year ended with I believe it was the quarterfinals. They were pitching at Catholic High, St. Paul's was, and he lost, I want to say 4-3 at Catholic, but pitched a fantastic game. And that was the last time I saw him pitch in high school. Again, his senior year, I was doing something else. I was no longer covering high school on a regular basis. Some other comments that I never got to before. Chad Gage is here. Hello, Earthlings. Hope you enjoyed Pantera. I know you were there on Saturday night. Hope you enjoyed it. S. Callie is here. Good morning. Who Dat Nation ahead of the beach. You had to jump on for a little bit. I'm glad you did. We say welcome. And UBN is looking at flights to Omaha. If I were to go to Omaha, I looked it up already. It's a 15-hour drive. I ain't flying. You couldn't pay me. I mean, I guess if I were forced to, so I can't say that. I can't say you can't pay me. If my boss said, we need you to go to Omaha and you must fly, and I didn't have a choice, I would probably do it. But I got to say, I ain't flying if I don't have to right now. If you're scared, say you're scared. Okay, I'm scared. I'll say it. I don't care. So anyway, if LSU wins tonight, those odds are going to change significantly. I told you this on Friday, during Friday's show. If you liked LSU, the time to bet them, was like 3 weeks ago. But if you hadn't done it, then the time to bet them was on Friday before they played the Arkansas game, because they did change. They were plus, 210, I believe. Now they're plus 120. This is your last chance to get them at plus anything. If they beat UCLA tonight, that plus is going to be a minus. I can promise you. Plus 240 on Friday, Gabe says. That plus is going to be a minus. So if you want to bet them now. That's Cali flying sucks. Right? I mean, what is the deal? And so many damn plane crashes. I'm not a huge fan of flying anyway. I'm a big dude, in case you didn't know. And so I always have to upgrade to sit somewhere where my knees aren't pressed up against the seat. So it always, even when I fly for work, when I used to fly a lot for work, it wasn't as bad because it wasn't as big. But if I could upgrade for a reasonable amount and pay the money myself, I would. And I didn't even care. I don't care that I was paying to go somewhere to own the company. I still would. It was just that important to me sometimes. And now I just don't even want to fly, period. I'd rather drive. I used to say if it's within 8 to 10 hours, I would just drive. Now, if it's within like 12 to 14 hours, I'm driving. In Omaha, I looked it up, 15 hours from my house. I would still drive. If for some reason I do go, and there has been chatter with UBN and I that potentially, not saying I would go, I don't know if I would, but if I do go, I'd be driving and I would meet him there. You know who would probably fly? I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing Nick Braden would fly. Maybe he would fly you if it happened the right way. Because we told you earlier, we would let you know more about how Evangeline Securities can help you figure out what your family-run or privately held business might be worth and whether it's time to sell. How do they do it? How do they figure out whether you should go to Omaha? Well, after their complimentary valuation of your company, if you decide to proceed, the aforementioned native New Orleanian Nick Braden and his friend Ron Hamel, and all the folks at Evangeline, they will begin an extensive auction process among established private equity funds from around the world. And they will maximize the return process for the founder and his or her family. Evangeline Securities is the top producer on their platform. There are very few companies like them in this area, and none with their dedication and success. They are fully licensed. They're ready to serve you. So get in touch with Nick and Ron about what's really important. It ain't LSU's odds. It ain't Anthony Eyanson's strikeout number or whether he can replicate Kade Anderson's performance. Now, what's really important? The rest of your life. You can find them at www.evangelinesecurities.com. UBN says he'd make me pick him up from the airport. I would, too. Chad says, my brother-in-law and the band were amazing. They have not slowed a bit. I think they probably slowed a bit. They just don't show it when they're on stage. At our age, Chad, we slow down. Even if we're hyped up just for the show. Or you're hyped up on pH water, drinking it through your Cubs cup. Sorry, I know y'all don't like listening to me slurp, but I was getting a little reclamped. I had to win. I had to do it. All right, let's bring in Mr. Gabe Henderson. Yeah, we got some Saints to talk about. So we're gonna start off with LSU since we're already on the topic in College World Series or whatever you want to talk about, and then we're gonna move on real quick to Cam Akers. I'll let you lead me into the Cam Akers talk, and then I'll take it over, and we'll finish off with Mono E Monday here this morning. But Gabe, how was your weekend? You were only a father of a puppy, but you're a father in your own right.
Yeah, spent the weekend working. So
okay, that sucks.
It is what it is.
Yeah,
but got a whole host of things to talk about today. We could talk about just about anything. Where do you start?
All right. Well, I know you don't want to talk about. We started off trying to look for a barbecue place, then found an Italian place we wanted to go to. Then it was closing, and so we ended up at our favorite sushi place. And so we had Father's Day sushi. I think that might be a first, but anyway, nobody wants to talk about that.
Before we do that, hold on. I want to just get to Charles's comments real quick. Charles, I need to know where you heard this.
Really? Is that true?
I'm genuine, because if that's true, they've always maintained that they're not going to tour. They've done some reunions here and there, but without Bonham, they've always said they're not the same. I don't know if they're bringing his kid back, but if that's true, you just made my year.
That would be interesting. I mean, were they going to wheel him up there? Robert
Plant still performs.
He's like 70. He's only like 70.
No, he still performs though. He does this.
I know. Yeah, he's a. I've never been.
And you know what? John Paul Jones looks great for his age.
Yeah, he looks better than Keith Richards.
There's usually like one or two guys in every band. Like if you look at the Beatles, Ringo Starr's aged really well. John Paul Jones is the guy from Led Zeppelin.
Hugh Bean says you better not be toying with
exactly
his emotions. I don't know. Who's he making? Mike Prima, by the way, says LSU wins title number 8 this season, fellas. I
hope so.
I hope you're right. I'll gladly come on for a vacation show. I never said that in the open, but that is true. If LSU wins the College World Series, we will have a special pop-up vacation show, whether I'm in Omaha, whether I'm here in my studio, whether I'm on a beach. No matter where I'm at, we will have some sort of show if LSU wins the College World Series. We'll see how that goes. All right. You know what? Let's start it off with this before we talk about LSU. I know you wanted to talk about the Devers trade from the Red Sox to the Giants for Jordan Hicks. What the hell?
Well, here's the thing about the Devers trade. And I'm kind of upset that I missed this in general. I'm a cross-sport fan, Jim. I'm a big soccer guy. You know this.
I know that. Yeah.
And the ownership group that owns the Red Sox, Fenway Sports Group, also owns Liverpool, famous English club, English champions this year. And I think the writing was on the wall for this Devers trade because it's no secret that he's kind of been unhappy with the team since they signed Alex Bregman.
Yeah, supposedly he told them if we can't come up with something soon, then trade me. But usually
I don't know about that. But the thing, I mean, he just signed an 11-year extension 2 years ago. So he didn't have much leverage, but I mean, the team did handle it really poorly. But the reason I say the writing was on the wall is because Fenway Sports Group is not known to splash the cash very often. And Liverpool is about to announce a 116 million pound signing. Who, after all of the fees and potential add-ons involved with the soccer transfer, could become the third most expensive transfer of all time. So, I mean, I guess we can kind of look at this as a balancing of the books because they ship Devers off and get rid of that contract in one way, and they bring in another huge player in another. So I don't know. I just sit down and think. I'm not
as a Cubs fan. I'd be pissed off if you trade your best. I'd be like the Cubs trading Kyle Tucker right now, but different because Kyle Tucker's only been with the Cubs for a couple months. So
not only that, Kyle Tucker's on an expiring contract.
Oh, right. So I mean the Cubs are in
9 years, has 9 years left on his season.
Exactly. So that's why, and I would be like super pissed if the Cubs did that. So I can only imagine with Red Sox fans. If you're a Red Sox fan, you're super pissed.
I'm not going to say this. I'm not going to say this because this isn't a jab at the Cubs. So please don't take it as that. Cubs fans can kind of understand where the Red Sox are coming from because the Cubs have blown up their core since the World Series.
Yeah, but they knew.
But none of those guys were as talented. If you're the Red Sox, they've traded away Mookie Betts, Xander Bogaerts, and Rafael Devers. And they let Chris Sale walk as well. And then I wouldn't be surprised if Alex Bregman opts out.
Yeah, the only one that kind of pissed me off was letting Rizzo go. But then, in the grand scheme of things, the Cubs were going downhill, and Rizzo probably wasn't going to stay either. And it's not like this. This is different. By the way, David +1 hash says AI says no. Led Zeppelin is not touring in 2025. While there have been rumors and fake announcements about a reunion tour, the surviving members ...
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if they went on another tour.
All right, LSU, your thoughts on College World Series real quick before we move on to football, because I have not talked at all hardly about the Saints.
I think you got to win tonight. This is actually a really evenly matched game. They're number 9 and number 10 in the country, respectively, in RPI. They've both fared very well throughout the season. I believe they're at combined 97 and 31, two of the highest scoring teams. But the thing about UCLA that worries me is they're not like everyone always talks about how Charles Schwab Field or the Chuck is not it's not a hitter's park, it's a pitcher's park because there are so few home runs hit there. UCLA doesn't rely on the long ball at all.
Yeah.
They're outside the top 50 in runs hit this year. So they've got a small ball offense that can really get going. So, if Eyanson doesn't have his best stuff, LSU could be in trouble, but I would rely on him.
I'm going to say this. I think LSU is going to win. However, if I was going to bet, which I'm not betting on this game. If I were to bet tonight, I would there's way more value in UCLA because of what you have talked about. What you talked about and how RPI, they're super close. One's 9, one's 10, whatever it is. UCLA at +300 or in that ballpark, depending on where you look. There's way more. You 100% cannot bet on LSU tonight.
No, you can't bet on LSU as a -265.
Right. So you bet on LSU to win the College World Series at +120. Even that's not a great value. It's okay. But if you're going to bet, you can only bet on UCLA. And in other words, you don't really bet. But that's where the value lies. I actually think there is value there. So anyway,
you can play another game line. I mean, I for as much as we've talked about this,
it's minus 2.5. Yeah.
For as much as we've talked about these two pitchers, I kind of like the over in this game.
Maybe
over
so.
9.5. These two teams have combined to go over it's standard college baseball line, but these teams have gone over 9.5 at a 70 and 60% clip over their last 10, respectively. So I mean, I can definitely see it.
I don't think I'm gonna bet it. All right, let's move on, and I want to talk a little bit about the New. I don't know what is going on. Can you click on it for me? I don't know what is going on with my mouse. I'm having major issues with my overlay. Click on overlays. There you go. No, click on the other. No, the one.
Oh, okay. Oh, no, whoops.
One more.
Oh, there it is.
Live TV. See, it's not letting you do it. Is it not letting you do it either?
Is that not it?
No.
It's highlighted for me.
It's highlighted for me too. See? Try to click on it.
It's the same thing.
It's not showing up.
Thing on there. Don't you?
All right, well, we'll just do it like that.
Oh, that is weird.
That's so I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I wanted to do this one because it's I don't know what the hell's going on. Doesn't matter. Showing the odds here. The over-under win before we get to Cam Akers and the team bonding part of it. The over-under wins. We're showing odds here on the screen. If you're listening after the fact, over-under is really 5.5. But right now, you can't really bet that at DraftKings. You can bet at other places. It just goes to show you the over is plus 160 on over 6.5. The under plus 6.5. The under 6.5 is minus 190. So you're not going to bet that. Anyway, division plus 1,000. You're not going to bet that. Conference plus 13,000. You're not going to bet that. Super Bowl, if you want to put $1 on it just for the hell of it, just in case something happens and $1 wins you $300. They're not going to win the Super Bowl, but you know, I've thrown dollars in the street before drunk. Who knows? If you want to do it, go ahead. But this team is obviously, to me, Cam Akers is kind of, I'm going to start off with him. And he kind of, look, I think it's a good signing. I think it's someone that this team needs. However, it just kind of goes to show where they are in the running back room. If you're going out and signing a Cam Akers, because I think Cam Akers has a really good chance to make this football team.
Sure.
By the way, Escali says we have technical difficulties. Everybody has them every now and then.
It is. Let me say this. It is a sad state of your running back room if Cam Akers is making a difference.
I don't know if he'll make a difference or not. I mean, I know a lot of people
they
got on me the other day when that people got on me. Like, people keep getting on me. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is on this team. Clyde Edwards-Helaire isn't as good as Cam Akers. I mean, there's a reason why they brought Cam Akers in. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is
type of running back.
But I mean, come on.
With all due, respectively speaking, obviously, football players, but
I just think, look, here's why I like the signing, and I think at least if someone's going to have a chance in that room to shock the hell out of people, it could be him. And here's the reason why. I'm never a fan of a guy who, he tore his Achilles and then later on, 2 seasons later, he tore his other Achilles. So that's obviously a huge problem. But you can come back from that. And at 26 years old, I think he knows that this is probably his last realistic chance to come in and maybe not to make an NFL roster, but it's probably his last realistic chance to have a chance to have some sort of career, maybe a year or 2 or 3 or whatever. And so he's going to come in as motivated as any. I'm not saying the other ones won't be motivated, but somebody's got to back up Alvin Kamara. And I know as much as people love Devin Neal, Devin Neal's a 6th-round pick. Some people love Kendra Miller. Kendra Miller's had plenty of chances before. Clyde Edwards-Helaire ain't it. So that's why I think that Cam Akers actually has a chance to surprise people. If you're looking for someone to pick, it's him. And I think, again, super motivated, but will he physically be able to do it? I like the fact that he's 26 years old.
I think saying he can surprise people is 200 yards and a touchdown in a season surprising? Because that's, I think, I'm not going to say ceiling. That's a realistic expectation.
That's a realistic expectation, but it's definitely not a ceiling. I mean,
ceiling is probably 400 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Earl's pick says just because Akers had a rough time in Houston doesn't mean he's done. He has talent.
Hey, Earl, how did you do in Minnesota? The team that traded again for him, and they let him walk.
Yeah. Again, you don't know how much time someone needs to actually heal. Maybe he wasn't fully healed yet. Anyway, it's
fine.
Look, it's a no risk.
Okay,
it's a no
if
risk.
You want to
move.
bring up his time in Houston? He was backup when Joe Mixon was hurt. He was playing a little bit when Texans backup running back, whose name completely escapes me right now, was injured. I'm just completely blanking. He was injured as well, and Akers played a role. And then before they were both fully healthy again, they traded Cam Akers, and they started using Dare Agumbawale more.
Yeah.
Cam. I mean, if Dare Agumbawale is more involved than you in 2025,
I will say this: I'm looking up as we get as you were talking. Okay, as you were talking, and he was a former Texan who went back again.
Who, Pierce?
Yeah, wasn't he a former Texan?
Pierce has been there the whole time.
Okay, I thought he left and came back.
I drafted 3 years ago.
So I did a search on AI of football players who have come back from Achilles, and this is what it tells me. This just goes to show you it is pretty rare. It says several players have successfully returned to football after, they can return to football. It doesn't mean they're any good. Several NFL players have successfully returned to football after suffering an Achilles tendon rupture, including Terrell Suggs. Okay. He tore his Achilles in 2012, came back 6 months later, helped the Ravens win the Super Bowl. Brandon Brooks, Philadelphia Eagles O-lineman, tore his Achilles in 2020, returned to the field the following season started. But then the third player they mentioned is Cam Akers. Yeah, he returned. He hasn't done anything. So it just kind of goes to show you that it's not really that when you tear your Achilles, you're kind of screwed.
Well, the thing that made Cam Akers so impressive, especially early on in his career with the Rams, was his explosiveness and his shiftiness.
Yeah,
and
that's
he
right.
just doesn't really have that anymore.
Yeah. No,
he's a guy who will pick up 3-4 yards a carry.
How many of them tear both Achilles?
I don't know.
I mean,
he's had a rough go. You just very rarely see running backs who have been kind of cast for injury or another reason come back.
I agree. Final thoughts here before we move on. And what are you doing on vacation, by the way?
I was actually going to say I'm leaving on morning, so I won't be on Wednesday's show.
Oh, okay. So this is your last show before vacation.
My vacation, kind of. Yeah.
Tell me where you're going.
I mean, I might pop in if LSU wins the title. I might pop in. I'm going to upstate New York. We do it every summer. So we're going to
Niagara Falls.
Plug and unwind up there. No, not up there. Right on the St. Lawrence, right by the Canadian border. So.
Well, I know this. The weather there will be a lot nicer than it'll be in either Houston or New Orleans.
Let me just say this. There have been nights over the past few years where I'm there in the summer where it gets to the high 40s.
Really?
It's kind of rare, but there have been nights in the 40s. So I guess my final thought is this showing this comment from UBN. He's surprised that I can pronounce Dare Agumbawale. UBN, I'm a big soccer guy. I can pronounce a ton of names.
Okay.
Actually been to Niagara based on just responding to UBN's other comment. But I was also a weekly NBA columnist when I was in high school. So I can not only say Giannis Antetokounmpo, I can spell it for you. And so it's working in international sports has really helped me pronounce these names.
Greek freak works for me.
Yeah,
works for me. All right, we'll have a great vacation. If LSU wins the College World Series, we'll be in touch. If not, you'll be back here on July 11th when we return. Have a great vacation.
Yes, I will be. Right. Thanks.
Gabe Henderson, everyone. All right, we're going to finish this show today with some Mono e Monday. Get as many comments as you want in. Probably going to wrap up the show in the next 10 to 15. We might be on 15 more minutes. Was there anything that I missed from her? I know there was some stuff. Talked about the U.S. Open. We talked about, I talked about everything that I wanted to talk about. I'm going to say this about Cam Akers. Again, I'm going to kind of probably repeat myself. Yeah, you're in a no-lose situation. That's where you are with Cam Akers. It's a no-lose situation. If he stinks, he can't make it. You lose nothing. They signed him to a 1-year deal, and it's the minimum and whatever. By the way, UBN says he knows Gabe does soccer. He almost unfollowed you on X because of it. You can mute. You can do mute, by the way. But what do the Saints have to lose by signing Cam Akers? Nothing. And again, what I really hope for is I hope Kendra Miller or Devin Neal or both are, charge in preseason and have a great camp, and we see something from Miller we haven't seen yet, and that's for his ability to stay healthy. You want to talk about healthy? There's someone who hasn't been able to stay healthy. Now he has no excuses. He can't stay healthy now. He's done. If Kendra Miller can't stay healthy, this is his last chance, at least with this team. Someone else may eventually give him a chance, but I think with the Saints, he's done if he can't stay healthy. Devin Neal's a 6th-round pick. Is he going to come in and be the insta backup? I don't think so. Big dog. Hakeem is here. I don't know what is going on. It's not letting me show stuff. I'm trying to click on comments, and it's not letting me click on comment. I don't know what's going on, Gabe. So I'll just have to mention them here. If I don't show your comment, I don't know what's going on. I'm clicking on some of these overlays, and they're not coming up. And now I'm trying to click on comments, and it's not coming up. There you go. Big dog, what's up? You're gonna have to show that for me, Gabe. You click off of it now. Charles says he still says the Saints win 7 games. Oh, someone asked me earlier. Okay, what do I think about over/under win totals? Oh, and somebody asked me earlier, like in the beginning of the show, how many games do I think the Saints are going to win this year? Again, I don't want to give my final prediction. He says, Callie says we're seeing some of the comments. Okay, that's because Gabe's showing them. For some reason, it's not letting me click on them. Somebody asked me earlier in the show to start how many wins I think the Saints. Look, I don't want to give an official prediction yet, but if I had to bet right now, if you're forcing me, I don't think there's any value on either one of them. And we talk about betting sometime on the show. Do I think the Saints are going to win 7 games? Absolutely not. I would be very surprised. I mean, I got to say at this point, very surprised. There's no way I'm taking that over 6.5 at plus 160. That's not nearly enough. That means the Saints got to win 7 games. Okay. We talked about it earlier, and I don't have their schedule slide up here, but we talked about the toughness of those first 4 games. Okay. And real quickly, I know them by heart now. Arizona at home, San Francisco at home, at Seattle, and at Buffalo. Before you come home for the Giants, come home for New England. But the point is, if you play those first 4 games, let's say you go 1-3, and I think that's best case scenario. You're not going 2-2. I mean, you could shock the world. If you go 2-2, then I think you probably will win 7 games. But I think 1-3 is probably the ceiling, because I think 0-4 is probably more. I think it's at least 50-50. They go 0-4 to those first 4 games. They could win 1, but they're going to be underdogs in all 4 of those games. And the closest they're going to even be to even is that opener against Arizona. Right now, they are 3.5-point underdogs against Arizona. They're at least 6.5-point underdogs in the other 3 games. Could they win them? Sure. 6.5-point underdogs win all the time in the NFL. It's not that rare. But realistically, winning 1 out of the first 4 is probably your best hope. So let's say they go 1-3. Okay. Let's say they go 1-3. What do you have to go the rest of the way? Then you'll say, off the top of my head, you have to go 6-7 the rest of the way to win 7 games. They're not going to go. I just don't think they're going to go 6-7. I think that's asking much. Paul Laporte wants to know if I think the Saints will play their starters longer in the preseason. Yes, I do. Now, not Alvin Kamara. I don't think the big-time veterans will play longer. But, I mean, I don't even know if we're going to know who the quarterback is. Will you see an Olave? I mean, you might not see an Olave. So I guess, yes, with a caveat of there are certain starters you aren't going to see. I do think you're going to see a lot more of this offensive line play together because they need to bond and gel together. So, Paul, that's a great question. I think you will see a Kelvin Banks, a rookie, play more in the preseason than you might see a normal left tackle play. I do think you'll see Fawaga play more at right tackle because he's moving over there. And I certainly certainly think you'll see a lot of Trevor Penning in the preseason. We saw a lot of Trevor Penning in the preseason last year, maybe more than we would have normally saw. If you remember, he played a lot of right tackle. He played a lot in the preseason. Earl's picks under or over means nothing this early when they would change almost right away after week 1. That's not true. That over-under win total doesn't change very much. In fact, it doesn't change hardly at all until you get to about week 2 or week 3. So if you're one of those people who thinks that the Saints are going to win more than 7 games, okay, and you agree with me that they're going to go 1-3, and they will find a way to go 6-7 or 7-6 after those first 4 games. If you think that, then yes, you would wait because you'd get better odds. However, if you think they're going to go like 2-2 and shock the world and win more than that, if you're one of those people like Who Dat Daddy who thinks they're going to win 9 games, then you bet the over plus 160 right now. Brian says at this time, betting anything other than under is not a good idea. I just don't think betting's a good idea at all with this team. There's really no value in betting this team at all. By the way, Gabe says, as we're a little ADHD this morning, coming up about 5-10 minutes before we end the show today. In case we were wondering what the fan split will be tonight in Omaha, LSU has sold, to this point, the last update at Rocco's. LSU has sold 13,789 Jello shots. UCLA, not that many. 941. You want over-unders? UCLA is over-under on total Jello shots is 942. No, I'm just kidding. 2,000. That's what I give them. I think they're under. Earl's pick 6, thinks 6 or 7. That's about it. Charles Manga says he'll stop riding his Harley for 6 months if the Saints don't win 7 games. I hope you don't like your Harley. Look, again, I hope you're right. I hope all of you positive people are right. And maybe I'll change my mind. I don't see it, but maybe when I see some preseason, because again, I'm not going to make my Saints official prediction won't come until at the earliest. My birthday is August 29th. It will not come before my birthday. So that's more than 2 months from now. So maybe I will see what happens. Maybe Spencer Rattler is that man, and what an improvement he's made. Incredible improvement. He takes the bull by the horns. He starts. Or Tyler Shuck, man, I see everything they saw that the Saints saw, and he could be the starter for this team for 10 years. Bam. Maybe I changed my mind. I doubt it. But again, it's because of that start. It goes back to last year. Remember we were talking about the schedule last year? And even though it was a quote-unquote easy schedule, it's just that brutal piece. The fact that the Saints play only 4 games at home, besides the top 4, which are bad enough, the Saints are basically going to be road travelers. They're going to be on the road for much of the, not just back half of the season, but back 2/3 of the season. After they play that New England game in week number 6 at home, week 6, they're home against New England. After that, they only have 4 more home games. The rest of the year, you're talking about like October, I think it's October the 12th. The rest of the season, they play only 4 more home games after that. Big deal. Earl's pick says to win more than 6 games, they got to stay healthy and pray the quarterback is at least average. I mean, that's what you're hoping for right now, right? You're hoping the quarterback is average because right now, Saints quarterback room, you can be as positive as you want. If you're ranking quarterback rooms from 1 to 32, the Saints have to be number 32. I mean, maybe if you're being uber positive, you could put Cleveland at 32. I'm not. But if you're being uber positive, you could put Cleveland at 32 and put the Saints at 31. I put the Saints at 32 when it comes to quarterback, and it's not even close to 31, in my opinion. Let's, as we close out here today, Brian Cavett says, I want him to win because, as I was saying, the last year's team losing is miserable. Losing won't be as bad this year if they improve. I saw so many comments. And look, again, you can be positive. Even if they lose, you can still be positive about things as long as they're improving. As long as you see hope for this team in the future, because let's be realistic. We know what this team is. We know what this year is going to be. It's rebuilding. Okay? we didn't go into last year thinking there was a rebuilding team because the team wouldn't accept that it was a rebuilding year because they kept all the pieces from the year before. A lot of those pieces are gone, obviously. The huge, big pieces are definitely gone. So the wins don't matter as much this year as they would have mattered as they mattered last year. 5-12 this year isn't the end of the world as long as the scores are closer, the games are better, they're more fun to watch, and you could see, I like what Kellen Moore is doing. I like what Rattler/Shuck is doing. I think the offensive line is definitely a top tier, potentially offensive line. I like what I see from young guys on defense. They all get better. There you go. That's what you want to see. Nathan Moore. Spencer Rattler's the guy. I don't think so, my friend. Could he be? Sure, he could be. Is he going to get a chance to be? I think he's going to get a chance. But, and I've said this before, again, he is going to have to straight up win the job with no question. It's not going to just be Spencer Rattler is got a slight lead on. No, slight lead isn't going to work for Rattler. When you come in and you draft a quarterback, that's your guy. So unless either Shuck stinks and Rattler's good, or Shuck's just okay and Rattler has improved immensely from last year, it's going to be Shuck. But it's, again, I think it's a question we will have answered about 2 months from today, somewhere in that ballpark. Second week of August. That's my prediction. I think even if it's not announced, I think we will all know. I don't think it'll be any more question. By the second week of August, I don't think there's going to be much question. You know what else isn't a question? We got one more show before vacation. That's it. And I'm taking my last sip. I hope I don't choke as we take us out here. Last word again, no last word today. I'll let y'all have the last word because there was no Mono-y Monday. It is going to wrap it up for us on this Mono-y Monday. I want to thank today's guests. It really wasn't mono. I can't even say that. So we had multiple guests. We had Koki Riley, we had Gabe Henderson, and we had you. Y'all were all our guests. You're the family now. You know that. We hope you can join us again on that last show before vacation on Wednesday when we will head off into the summer sunset by welcoming in our friend WWL TV sports director Doug Mouton will be here. A reminder to subscribe to our Dattitude YouTube page. Click the little bell to receive notifications when we go on the air live. Normally, it's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. Central Time. However, after Wednesday, give me a little break. Give us a little like if you're still watching, by the way. A reminder also that you can find us wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple, Spotify, and many more, and also find a replay of the show. As always, on NOLA.com/sports, you can find me on bet.NOLA.com. You can find our Saints insiders on NOLA.com/sports/Saints, and our LSU insiders, NOLA.com/sports/LSU. I'm already looking forward to it. Chad Gage says, thanks for everything. Oh, you don't have to thank me. Charles Manga says, great show again. As Callie says he's driving it to stop. That's the point anyone can make about the Saints improvement. That's what we want. And we want improvement on this show. We're going to improve from today to Wednesday. Even without Gabe Henderson, somehow we're going to try to find a way to improve this show between now and Wednesday. And between Wednesday and July 11th, you ain't going to believe it. It's going to be that much better. We can't do it without you, Dad family. We will see you on Wednesday. Everybody, take it easy, my friends.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.